So in the previous session, we have discussed about Force.com platform, and we have discussed what exactly Force.com platform and what is the use, and why should we go for Force.com platform in Salesforce especially, even though we have a set of configuration features that we have in Salesforce, what kind of scenarios will enforce you to go to Force.com platform, and what kind of operations that we can do by using Force.com platform, and what programming languages that we have to use in Force.com platform to build your own custom business logics and the customized user interfaces. And what exactly the significance of each programming language we have discussed. So that we have discussed, Salesforce provides two programming languages as part of Force.com platform. We have two programming languages. First one, Apex. Second one, Visual Force. These are the two programming languages are available, Apex and Visual Force. Then what exactly Apex programming language and what is the use? What we can do with the help of Apex programming language? What kind of features that we have in Apex programming? And what are the various operations that we can do by using Apex programming language and how an Apex program will get executed internally? Then where to write this Apex code? What are the various editors that Salesforce provides? And how to save this code? What is the extension of the file? Everything we'll see practically one by one. So as of now, you might be aware of so many programming languages available in IT industry. Like you may be aware of the programming language BASIC, and then Pascal, Fortran, and then COBOL, C programming, C++, VC++, Java, C Sharp.NET, VB.NET, Python, like that so many programming languages you might be aware of. So, but whatever the programming languages that we have in IT industry, like the basic programming, Pascal, Fortran, COBOL, C and C++, Java, C Sharp, VB, Python. So whatever the programming languages that we have in IT industry, all these programming languages are purely on-premise programming languages. These are purely on-premise programming. What do you mean by on-premise programming, which requires installation, right? First of all, we have to install that software into a local system. Then only we can start utilizing that to write some business logic, to build some features, to build some applications. So what are the existing programming languages that we have in IT industry? All these programming languages are on-premise programming languages, which requires installation first. If you want to use a C programming language to write some small piece of code, then we have to install C programming language software into a local system. If you want to use a Java to develop a small application, we have to install Java into local system. If you want to use a .NET programming to build some application, we have to install. So whatever the programming languages that we have in IT industry till now, all the programming languages are on-premise, which requires installation. But our Apex programming is purely an on-demand programming language or cloud-based programming language. It's a cloud-based programming language which doesn't require any installations, Then here you can raise a question, sir, without installing anything in my local system, then where we can write the code, where we can execute, where we can see the results. In that case, as part of Apex programming, we are writing the code inside the browser itself. We are not using any special editors. We are not using a separate environmental setup to write this piece of code. We are not using any editors. We are writing the code inside the browser. We can save the code inside the internet. We can compile the code inside the internet. We can execute the code inside the internet. We can see the result inside the browser itself. Everything will be through browser itself. So Apex is purely a cloud-based programming language which doesn't require any installation. Directly, we can access this programming language with the help of browser and internet access. Okay, understood the concept here? Next. Now, as part of these programming languages, in IT industry, whatever the programming languages are available, all the programming languages has been divided into 4 categories. In IT industry, whatever the programming languages that we have, all the programming languages has been divided into 4 categories. Then, first one, structured-oriented programming language, or these are also called as procedure-oriented programming languages. First one, structure-oriented programming, or these are also called as procedure-oriented programming. This is the first category. Second category is object-oriented programming languages. Third one, component-oriented programming languages. Fourth one, service-oriented or message-oriented programming languages. These are the 4 categories of programming languages that we have in IT industry. So whatever the programming languages that we have in IT industry, those programming languages has been divided into four categories, like structure oriented, object oriented, component oriented, service oriented, or message oriented. Now, our Apex programming language will come under in which category over here? Now, in this case here, let's see. So now, our Apex programming language will come under in which category of programming language? Now, let's see here.
Object oriented.
And every category, what programming languages are comes under this each category? Let me explain. Now, let's see. First one. The first category of programming approaches are structure oriented or procedure oriented. Now, as part of these programming languages, in this approach, each business logic, each business logic should be implemented in the form of a procedure or function. As part of structure oriented programming or procedure oriented programming languages, each business logic, basically all the programming languages are used to build a business logic only. But upon implementing the business logic, different approaches are available. The first approach is structured oriented programming. In this structured oriented programming languages, each business logic should be implemented in the form of procedures and functions. Each business logic should be implemented in the form of procedures and functions. Procedures and functions. Now, so now what programming languages are comes under this category here? Now let's see. So we have so many programming languages which are purely comes under structured oriented programming approach. Like we have basic, Pascal, C, PLSQL. When you go to the database programming, Oracle or SQL Server, we have SQL, PLSQL. Okay, structured query language and then PLSQL. That means procedural language or structured query language. Now, these are all are comes under structured oriented or procedure oriented programming, where each business logic should be implemented in the form of procedures and functions. But in these procedure oriented programming languages, we have few drawbacks. The major drawback is procedure oriented programming languages won't provide much security for your code. Whatever the code, whatever the logic that you have implemented, that logic you can't control. That means that logic will not be under your control. So whatever the logic we have written, that logic will be accessed by all the people inside your organization or inside your application. But in some cases, I want to restrict some business logic. Some logic should be accessible by only these two particular users. Remaining people can't access it. Some logic should be accessible by only these particular users. Remaining people can't access. But I want to restrict that, but we can't do that. That is not at all possible. So in structured oriented programming, whatever the business logic that we are going to implement, the business logic will not be having much security. We can't control that accessibility of the code. That code will be accessible by all the people inside your application. That is a problem here. Now, in the case, to make your code more secured, to make the code to run under your control, they have introduced one more programming approach that is called as object-oriented programming approach. So now, as part of this object-oriented programming, each business logic should be implemented in the form of classes and objects. That means whatever the business logics we are going to implement, those business logic we are going to be dividing into various small groups. So whatever the business logic that we are implementing, those business logic are dividing into various small units. Those units are called as classes. So now the class contains some business logic. Second class contains some business logic. Third class contains some business logic. Fourth class contains some business logic. A number of classes you can implement. So whatever the business logic that we're implementing, instead of making the business logic as independent, we are going to be grouping the related business logics together into small entities. That each entity is called as a class. Now, in this case, as part of this object-oriented programming, each business logic should be implemented in the form of classes and objects. Okay? Now, so now here in this case here, whenever we are using this object-oriented programming languages, we have so many object-oriented programming languages are available in IT industry. Like for example, Smalltalk. Smalltalk is the world's first object-oriented programming language. Smalltalk is the world's first object-oriented programming language. From there onwards, we have so many programming languages are available. We have C++, VC++, Java, C#.NET, VB.NET, Python. Like there's so many programming languages are available, including your Apex programming language also. That means Apex also an object-oriented programming language where each business logic should be implemented in the form of classes and objects. Okay, now, next one. In object-oriented programming languages, they have identified some drawbacks. What is the drawback? As part of object-oriented programming, we can implement the business logics. Okay, we can implement the business logics also to perform certain operations in the application. Then how to invoke that business logic here? When I click on that button control, when I click on that text box, when I click on that checkbox, when I change the PQS value, I want to execute it, then how to do that? In object-oriented programming languages, we are able to implement the business logic to do the operation, then how to invoke the business logic here? So for that reason, we need some screens. We need some user interfaces. We need some visual appearance controls like as checkboxes, text boxes, buttons, entities controls, label controls. Like that, we need some visual appearance controls. But as part of this object-oriented programming, we don't have any such kind of visual appearance controls. For that reason, to design the user interfaces, to provide user-friendly interfaces to the applications, when coming to the organizations, they have introduced component object-oriented programming. Component-oriented programming, where each functionality should be implemented in the form of components. Each functionality should be implemented in the form of components. So basically, component is nothing but a piece of reusable code. Component is nothing but a piece of reusable code which can be designed once and which can be reusing in multiple places whenever you want, wherever you want. That means develop that component once, develop that feature once, and then just you can able to use that feature in different places of your application development whenever you want, wherever you want. So that here they're implementing each and every functionality in the form of components. Then what programming languages are available which are considered this component-oriented programming category? Like we have COM, Component Object Model, DCOM, Distributed Component Object Model, VB, Visual Basic here, okay, Visual Basic Programming. Like that here, we are having so many programming languages are available where each functionality will be implementing in the form of component. And along with that, as part of your Salesforce, okay, as part of your Salesforce, we are having Lightning Framework. Lightning Framework. So now where we are having ARA and LWC. Now, as part of this Lightning Framework, each functionality will be called as a component. Generally, we are having button controls, text box controls, checkbox controls like that. We are calling them as controls. But in Lightning Framework, everything will be called as component over here. Text box component, button component, checkbox component, pick list component over here. By using this one, I'm designing a registration form. This entire registration form also called as component here. Everything is component. Okay, it's purely built upon component-based programming here. So Lightning Framework is purely built upon component-based framework where each functionality should be implemented in the form of components. Okay, now. So now here in this case, by using this component-oriented programming, we can able to implement our own functionalities also. We can build our own business logics. We can build our own functionalities also. And then once the whole application is done, then how to integrate your application with the third-party systems. Now, like for example here. Nowadays, everywhere we are having integrations. Everywhere we are having integrations. If you want to buy a product through Amazon, then we need to make the payment. For that one, we have to go to banking system. It may be ICICI Bank, SBI Bank, or it may be Axis Bank, whatever. Because Amazon is integrated with all the banking systems over here. Now, so in this case, like the similar fashion over here, like the similar fashion here also, I want to build an e-commerce application. So once the e-commerce application has been built, then the customer can able to access my application. They will select the required products to buy through online. Once the products has been selected, bill will be getting prepared. Now we need to make the payment through online. Then only my order will be getting confirmed. The order will be sending to the warehouse. Warehouse people will prepare the order and that will be delivered to the customer's location. In that case here, we need to integrate the application with the third-party systems so that they have introduced service-oriented or message-oriented programming. In this service-oriented or message-oriented programming, each business logic should be implemented in the form of a service or message. That means we are passing some message. We are passing a service from one application to another application. With the help of these messages, the applications can talk to each other. Applications can communicate with each other. Applications can exchange the data. Application can extend the business logics over here. For that one, we need to provide a handshake between the two applications. For that reason, we are using the help of service-oriented programming. So now here, every business logic will be implemented in the form of service. These services are called as web services. Web services are especially designed for integration purpose here. Okay, so now in this case over here, as part of this service-oriented programming, we have so many programming languages are available. WCF, Windows Communication Foundation from Microsoft. As part of .NET framework, we are having this WCF also available here. Like that, we have so many programming languages. From Salesforce, we have web services, especially for integration purpose. Along with we are having APIs, application programming interfaces. As part of APIs, we have two APIs, REST API and the SOAP API. These are the two APIs are available from Salesforce. Okay, clear? Now, these are the four categories of programming languages are available in IT industry. Now tell me, for our Apex programming language will come under in which category of programming now?
Object-oriented.
Object-oriented programming. Okay, Apex programming is considered object-oriented programming language where each business logic should be implemented in the form of what? Classes and objects. Okay, classes and objects. So each business logic should be implemented in the form of classes and objects. Okay, now. So because Apex programming will be purely supporting all the principles of object-oriented programming language. Now, then by using this Apex programming language, what we can do? By using this Apex programming language, we can implement our own custom business logics also. We can implement our own custom validations. We can implement our own deduplication mechanisms. Yesterday we have discussed we don't have any duplication elimination mechanism based on the combination of some set of fields. Now, in this case here, in order to implement your own custom duplication elimination mechanism, we can use the help of this Apex programming language. So, through Apex programming language, we can implement our own custom validations. We can implement our own custom deduplication mechanisms. And along with that, we can build your own complex business logics also. Not only the simple business logics, complex business logics also we can implement. And then along with that, we can implement complex business transactions as well. So all the operations we can do with the help of Apex programming language. Now, in this case, here you can raise a question. Sir, upon writing the code by using Apex programming language, do we need to follow any case sensitivity? Like when you go to Java programming, okay, that is purely case sensitive. But as part of Apex programming, Apex is not a case sensitive programming. While writing the code, you can use any character case. Complete code will be in uppercase or complete code will be in lowercase, or combination of both also you can mix together. That facility is available. But in Apex programming language, there is a small basic principle. It's not only in Apex programming, in most of the programming languages, this is a common principle that in each Apex programming language, each statement should be ends with a semicolon. Like for example, whenever we are preparing a paragraph, each sentence we are going to be ending with a full stop because to indicate this full stop is indicating this is the end of this sentence. Like the similar way, upon writing the business logic in Apex programming, each statement, each line of code should be ends with a semicolon. The semicolon is indicating this is the end of the statement. Okay? Understood the concept now? Now, make a note of this one till this point. We'll see a few more points as well. Apex is a cloud-based programming language. Apex is a cloud-based programming language which doesn't require any installations inside the local device. Inside the local device, we can access the Apex programming features by using browser and internet access. Now, Apex purely supports object-oriented programming principles. Hence, each business logic in Apex programming should be implemented in the form of classes and objects. By using Apex programming, we can implement our own custom validations and deduplication mechanisms based on the need. And we can implement the complex business logics and complex transactional flows to perform the operations in the application. Apex is not a case-sensitive programming. We can write the business logic or we can write the code by using any character case. Now, each statement in Apex programming should be ends with a semicolon. Done with this? Now, let's see. Now, by using this Apex programming, what else we can do? With the help of this Apex programming, can we interact with the database objects? Like I have so many objects are available in my Salesforce R, including standard, including custom. I have so many objects are available. Those may be independent, those may be related, either lookup or master detail or hierarchical or many to many or one to one or anything, whatever it might be. Do we have any chance that we can interact with Salesforce objects through programming to perform DML operations on the object records? Yes. By using this Apex programming, we can interact with our Salesforce objects through programming. We can perform all the DML operations also. Now here you can raise the question. Sir, in order to insert the record, to update the record, to delete the record, when you are going to the Apex programming, we have page layouts. By using page layout, we can able to insert the record, update the record, delete the record, we can do. But the problem is, through the user interface, through the page layout, how many records we can process at a time? Only one. Only one. Okay, we can insert only one record, we can modify only one record, we can delete only one record at a time, not multiple. Then we have an alternative. What is a data loader? Through data loader also, we can able to perform the operations on bulk records over here. Through data loader, we can perform the operations on bulk records. How many records we can process maximum? 5 million, 5 million. Okay, data loader is for 5 million. Import wizard is for 50,000 over here. Okay, now, in this case, as part of this Apex programming allows us to interact with our Salesforce object through programming, and we can perform the operations on maximum of 50 million records in one shot. There is a possibility here. There is a possibility to process maximum of 50 million records. That means 5 crore records we can process through Apex programming. And one more specialty. Through data loader, at a time we can interact with only one object. We can map multiple. But through Apex programming, we can interact with a single object also. We can interact with multiple objects also. Suppose, for example, I want to insert an account record and the related contact, related opportunity, related case record. These 4 records I want to insert. In data loader, we have to do this operation 4 times separately here. Account records we have to insert separately, contact records separately, opportunity records separately, case records separately. But through Apex programming, all these 4 records we can insert in one shot. There is a possibility here. So now here, that's what here we can use the help of Apex programming language. Through Apex programming, we can perform all the DML operations on your Salesforce object records. It may be one record or multiple records. It may be single object. It may be related objects also. We can able to interact through Apex programming. Now, while performing this DML operations, as part of this Apex programming, it supports 6 DML operations over here. It supports 6 DML operations like insert, update, delete, undelete, upsert, and the merge. Okay, merge. Okay, merge statement here. These are the various operations. But when you go to the data loader won't support undelete. Data loader won't support merge statement. But all are available as part of your Apex programming. So Apex programming supports purely all the DML operations over here. Okay, now let's see. Make a note of this one. By using Apex programming, we can perform all the DML operations on the Salesforce object records at a time. That is, we can perform insert, update, delete, undelete, upsert, and merge. Now tell me, what do you mean by DML? DML stands for what? Data manipulation language, right?
Language.
Done with this? Next. So by using this Apex programming, not only inserting the records, not only updating and the deleting, we can perform export operations also. Insert, update, upsert, these are all nothing but import operations. That means from local system to Salesforce object. Do we have any chance to get the records from Salesforce object to local system? Yes, there is a possibility. So now in this case, if you want to get the records from your Salesforce object to local system, it may be from one object also, it may be from multiple objects also. If you want to fetch the records, then we are using the help of a query language called as SOQL query language. SOQL query language. SOQL stands for Salesforce Object Query Language. Because whatever the records that we are storing right now, it may be related to my lead records also, case records also, okay, customer records also, product records also. These are all are storing inside my objects. Whereas all these objects will store inside the database. So I need to send a request to database to get the required records from my Salesforce object. So that Salesforce has provided a query language called as SOQL query. Salesforce Object Query Language. Okay, now by using this SOQL query language, we can fetch the data from one or more Salesforce objects also at a time. Okay, now generally when you go to the database programming, Oracle or SQL Server or Microsoft Access and any other database, these SOQL queries are also called as SQL, structured query language. Structure means a table. Those tables will be called as what in Salesforce? Objects. Those objects are nothing but Salesforce objects, including standard, including custom. We are calling it as Salesforce objects. So from Salesforce objects, we can query the data, we can fetch the data, depends upon your requirement. Okay, understood the concept now? Now, make a note of this one. By using Apex programming, we can fetch the required records from the Salesforce objects with the help of SOQL queries. Here, SOQL stands for Salesforce Object Query Language. Salesforce Object Query Language. These are all parts of Apex programming. SOQL queries will take minimum 5 sessions. DML statements will take minimum 4 sessions. Okay, these are all parts of Apex programming. Done with this? Next one. As part of Apex programming, Apex provides a search engine called as SOSL. Apex programming provides a search engine called as SOSL, Salesforce Object Search Language. Okay, Salesforce Object Search Language. Then what is the use of this Salesforce Object Search Language? This is used to search for the required content. I know some little bit characters over here. Based on some characters, if you want to search the content in the internet, we are using the search engine called as Google Search also, Bing also. We have various search engines are available in the internet. Now, like the similar way, if you want to search for some content in your Salesforce objects, we have a built-in searching mechanism that is called as SOSL, which is used to search for the content in multiple Salesforce objects in one shot automatically here. So in this case, we can able to implement this kind of search engines also with the help of Apex programming, which is called as Salesforce Object Search Language. Okay, now let's see. Apex provides a built-in search engine called as SOSL queries, which is used to search for the required content in multiple Salesforce objects at a time. Now, SOSL stands for Salesforce Object Search Language. Now, by using Apex programming, we can perform the operations on millions of records with the help of batch programming and schedule programming. By using this batch programming and the schedule programming, we can able to perform the operations on millions of records also. Maximum, we can able to process 50 million records in one shot. That means 5 crore records we can process at a time through Apex programming with the help of batch programming and schedule programming. Okay? Now, so now this is nothing but the batch programming is used to divide the records to various small batches so that we can process each batch. Simple concept here. For example, assume that today I'm going to a hotel after the class. I would like to go to a hotel to have some snacks or to have some dinner at evening at 7:30 or 8 o'clock. Now, whenever I'm ordering some food, the server is going to be placing that food in front of you on the table. Now tell me, once the food is available in front of you inside the plate, can we have the whole food at a time? No. How can we have the food? We can divide that food to the various small pieces. Take a small piece and have it, and then second piece we can have it, and the third piece we can have it like that. We can continue this process till the plate is getting empty. This is the process we used to do. Like the similar way here also, whenever we are processing some millions of records, it may be lakhs of records or crores of records, Salesforce will divide the records to various small pieces that each piece is called as a batch. Okay, the each piece is called as a batch. Each batch it will take up, it will process separately. Second batch it will process. So third batch it will process. It will continue all the batches till all the records has been processed over here. For that reason, we are using the help of batch programming and then schedule programming also. That means instead of performing the operation right now, I want to make it scheduled. Okay, I want to make it scheduled. During the reports concept, we have discussed how to schedule a report to run based on the periodical intervals. I want to perform these operations okay, on every weekend or every day early morning at 2 o'clock. Every week twice, okay, night at 10 o'clock. Like that, if you want to schedule some business logic to be get run, we can use the help of schedule programming over here. Okay, clear? Now, what are the credit card statements and what are the bank statements that you are receiving right now regarding your okay alerts also, regarding your loan EMI alerts also, regarding credit card okay alert okay, like as a due payment EMI alerts also. These all are coming because of scheduling only here. Because of the scheduling only, we are getting so many email notification alerts also every day regarding your credit card bill payment also, regarding your electricity bill payments also, regarding your loan EMI payments also. We are getting so many alerts because of scheduling. Okay, now next. So now as part of this Apex programming, not only implementing the business logic as part of Apex programming, we have a facility to integrate the Salesforce applications with the third-party systems also. We can able to integrate the Salesforce applications with the third-party systems also. For that one, as part of Apex programming, Salesforce provides two APIs. First one, okay, REST API. Second one, SOAP API. These are the two APIs are available over here. We have REST API and we have SOAP APIs are available over here. So now here in this case, by using these two APIs, we can able to write some business logics which we can able to use to perform the required operations to integrate with the third-party systems. Now, so now in this case, as part of Apex programming, these are the two APIs available, REST and SOAP. SOAP is the old mechanism here, REST is the latest mechanism as of now. Most of the mobile applications are using purely REST integration over here. Okay, REST integrations. Okay, every mobile application is having integrations internally, okay, right now. Okay, now let's see. For example, I think everybody is having your smartphones, right? Yes. In your smartphones, you are installing so many applications. Like as it may be Twitter also, Instagram also, it may be Facebook also, YouTube also, Gmail also, or it may be any banking applications, anything. For example, without enabling the internet, will you able to use these applications? No, because these applications are simply claimed applications which are having only the user interface. That's it. It doesn't have any data. So where is the data inside the server here? How to get the data inside the server? Through integration here. In order to integrate with that server, it requires internet access. Through internet access, the application will be connecting to the server. It will collect the data. It will show on the screen to you in the mobile app. It may be banking application also. It may be WhatsApp also. It may be Twitter also, Instagram, Facebook, Gmail, anything, whatever the applications that we have, those applications are purely requires integrations internally. Most of the mobile applications are using REST integrations nowadays. Okay, as part of REST integration, it is very simple, very okay, easy to integrate. It's a lightweight also. Okay, clear? Now let's see. Make a note of this one. Apex provides through built-in APIs which can be used to integrate the Salesforce application with the third-party systems. We have the below two APIs. First one, REST API. Now REST stands for representational state transfer. Second one, SOAP API. SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. Now, API stands for Application Programming Interface. Clear up to this one? Now, let's see. So then whenever we are writing this Apex programming language code, in order to implement your own business logics by using this Apex programming language, then whatever the code we are going to write, that code will be storing inside some files. Like for example, if I'm writing some C programming code, then the code will be storing inside a file with the extension .c. Suppose if I'm writing some Java code, the code will store inside a file with the extension Java. If it is a C#.NET code, the code will be storing inside a file with the extension .cs. Like the similar way, as part of your Apex programming, whatever the code we are going to write, the code will be storing inside the file with the extension .apexc. Okay, because that already we know in Apex programming language, each business logic should be implemented in the form of classes and objects. The class contains the actual business logic. So each Apex class code will get stored inside the file with the extension .apexc. Apex means Apex, C means class. It's an Apex class. So each Apex class code will store inside the file with the extension .apexc. Now, in this case here, how many Apex classes that we can create inside my organization? So many, n number of. Okay, n number of Apex classes that we can create. So in that case, whenever we are writing your Apex programming code, Salesforce will be counting each and every character over here. Salesforce will count each and every character, and as part of Salesforce, they have given a limitation within the entire organization wide. We can write maximum of 60 lakhs characters code, not more than that. 60 lakhs characters, not lines. Even though if you're giving a comma, it will be counting. Even though a space, it will be counting here. Everything will be counting by Salesforce. So within your entire organization, including all the applications, we can write maximum of 60 lakhs characters code inside your Salesforce arc. Now, in this case, you can raise a question, sir, do we have any chance to extend this number of characters? Yes, that is available. That will be available only for licensed editions. Only for licensed editions, we have that possibility. That means for enterprise edition and for unlimited edition, this is possible. Because that already we know Salesforce is providing 4 paid editions over there. Like we have starter edition, and then we have professional edition and enterprise edition, unlimited edition. From this 4, first 2 editions are not having any 4-stack-com platform. Starter edition, professional edition doesn't have any 4-stack-com platform. Only admin features are there, no development at all. So from enterprise edition onwards, they have introduced 4-stack-com platform. So in this enterprise edition and then the unlimited edition, there is a chance to number of characters to be get extended by contacting your Salesforce administrator. You don't need to contact the Salesforce.com support team inside your company. Inside for your power project, we have a Salesforce administrator. Contact the person, extend the number of characters from 60 lakhs to 1 crore or 1.5 crore, 2 crores. We can keep on extend the number of characters. Depends upon the modules we are going to implement. Okay, but in free developer edition, no chance to extend. Okay, no chance to extend over here. Okay, now as part of editions, let me tell you one small point. Recently, Salesforce introduced one more edition, also additionally Unlimited Plus. Okay, Unlimited Plus edition. Previously, we have discussed 4 editions over here. Okay, 4 editions like Starter Edition, Professional, Enterprise, Unlimited. Now we have Unlimited Plus edition also over here. Okay, which is cost of $500 per month per user license. Unlimited Plus edition is having same features like as your Unlimited edition. Along with it is having a feature called as Slack. It is having that Slack integration. Slack is a team collaboration tool. Okay, Slack is a team collaboration tool. Basically, Slack organization is separate. It's a third-party organization here, but in 2021, Salesforce people has acquired this Slack organization. That means 3 years back. 3 years back, Salesforce people has acquired this Slack organization. They have included the Slack into that Salesforce also. They have introduced a new edition that is called as Unlimited Plus, which is cost of $500 per month per user license. It is having team collaboration. That means team collaboration means what? Video conferences also, audio conferences also we can able to conduct through Slack. Like when you go to that hospitality here, we are having some video consultations available over here. Now you no need to go to the hospital. We can able to consult the doctor through video conference also. Okay, at that time this Slack tool will be very helpful. As part of our organizations, if you want to conduct some video conference meetings also, at that time we can use the help of Slack also here, which is having the integrations with Data Cloud also. For that reason, they have introduced one more edition that is Unlimited Plus, which introduced by Salesforce recently here. Okay, clear now. So now in this case here, as part of this Salesforce arc, okay, as part of this Salesforce arc, each and every Apex class code will get stored inside the file with the extension .apexc. So within an organization, we can prepare n number of Apex classes also, and all the Apex classes information will store inside an object called as Apex class object. Apex class is a standard object in Salesforce. Like for example, all the lead records will store in which object? Lead object. Case records will store in which object? Case object. Account records will store in account object. User records will store in user object. Like the similar way, all the Apex classes information will store in Apex class object. So Apex class is a standard object in Salesforce which contains all the Apex classes information inside it. Okay, clear? Now let's see. Make a note of this one. Each Apex class code should get resides inside the file with the extension .apexc. All the Apex classes information will get stored in Apex class object. All the Apex classes information will get stored in Apex class object. Within an organization, we can write maximum of 60 lakhs Apex characters code. Now, so in paid editions, we can extend the number of characters by contacting the Salesforce administrators. But in free developer edition, there's no chance to extend the number of characters. That will be always fixed to 60 lakhs characters. Clear? Now. Hmm. Yes, right. We can see that. If you want to see how many number of characters code that you have written as of now, still how many characters are left, just we can see. Just you can go to your Salesforce org. You can go to your Salesforce org to see how many characters code we have written as of now, still how many characters are left, what is the limitation given by Salesforce, everything we can check it out. Go to your setup menu, go to that pick find box, search for the option Apex classes. Search for the option Apex classes, just you can click on Apex classes link. So now it will be representing that. Now, the percentage of Apex code usage is 0%. Now it is indicating you are currently using 0 characters of Apex code, okay, in your organization out of an allowed limit of 60 lakhs characters over here. Okay, out of an allowed limit of 60 lakhs characters. That means Salesforce has given the limitation of writing 60 lakhs characters, but as of now we have used 0 characters because we haven't prepared any Apex class as of now. We haven't written any business logic till now. So it is indicating 0 characters we have used. That's what the usage of Apex is, 0%. Now, even though when you go to this Apex class table, now the table is empty, nothing is available. We haven't prepared any Apex class till now. Okay, clear? Now, suppose if you're preparing an Apex class, it will occupy. Let me show you here. Now, just let me create one Apex class for your information. I'm clicking on new button to create an Apex class. I'm preparing an Apex class. Public class customer helper. I'm preparing an Apex class. I'm preparing some variables here. Public integer customer code, customer age. Public string customer name and the company name, designation, contact number, email address. Public decimal, balance amount, loan amount. Public date, birth date, joining date. Boolean is active, whether the customer is an active customer or not. This is the class which I'm preparing. I have defined so many variables over here. Now let me save this code. Click on save button. Now let's go back to your Apex classes here. Let's see what will happen. Now it is indicating how many characters we have written as of now. 275 characters. Now it is indicating that currently you are using 275 characters of code, okay, inside your organization out of an allowed limit of 60 lakhs. Clear? Salesforce will count each and every character here. Why they have given this kind of restriction? Because Salesforce people wants to reduce the development part over here. They want to reduce the development because most of the features they have given as configuration, most of the automation rules are available. Use them. If these are not at all sufficient, if they are not at all suitable, then only come to the development here, or else don't come to the development directly. Okay, because if it is a development, then we have to write the code, and that too the code should be executing inside the Salesforce server. So it will put some more load on the server. It will decrease the server performance. That's what here they are enforcing the people to use that configuration features first, so that they want to reduce the development. So development part is very very minimal in Salesforce. Okay, clear? Now, now in this case, let's see how an Apex program will get executes internally. Now let me explain that. Now, Apex programming execution lifecycle. How an Apex program will get executed internally. Now let me explain that procedure. So let's see. As part of this Apex programming, we are having a specific architecture is available which describes Apex programming execution lifecycle architecture. Now, so this is Apex programming execution lifecycle architecture here. Now, let's see how an Apex program will get executed internally. Now let me explain the procedure over here. Now, for example, assume that I'm working in an organization as a Salesforce developer. Okay, I'm working in an organization as a Salesforce developer. Now, I'm reporting to a technical lead. Assume that he is my technical lead here. So now he's the technical lead. I'm a junior member. Every day, my technical lead is assigning some task to me. I need to work on those tasks, and then I need to write the code. I need to test the code. Once the code is working perfectly, I need to hand over the code to my technical lead here so that we can push to the production. Okay, now, so in that case, as a developer, whenever I'm writing the code, how the code will get compiled, how the code will execute internally. Now, let's see. Now, so now this is my place here. That means I'm a developer. Okay, I'm a developer here. So now, as a developer, I'm writing some piece of code by using Apex programming language. Because today I got a development related task. Till now I got admin related task. Now today my technical lead has given a development related task to me to work on that feature. So I'm writing some piece of code by using Apex programming language. In order to write this Apex programming code, I'm using the cloud-based editors given by Salesforce. Salesforce has given few cloud-based editors. By using the cloud-based editors, I'm writing some piece of code which can be accessible through browser internet access over here. Through the browser, I have written some piece of code. Now tell me, as part of Apex programming, Apex is purely object-oriented programming language. Each business logic should be implemented in the form of classes and objects. So we are writing the business logic in the form of a class. The class code will be storing inside a file with the extension .apexc. Okay, whatever the code that we have written, the code will be storing inside the file with the extension .apexc. So now this is my Apex code over here. So just now we have prepared this Apex code, okay, by using this Apex programming language. Now tell me here, once the code is ready with me, now I would like to execute that code here. So after writing the code, as soon as once you click on this save button, now this uncompiled code means what? This uncompiled code here.
Syntax errors without checking syntax errors.
Okay. So now this is an Apex code which may be having some syntactical mistakes. Like for example, today I want to send one email notification to my friend also, or colleague also, to my technical lead also, my client also, anything. Once the content has been prepared through email, before sending the email, first of all, we are checking that, right? Whether we have written correctly all the sentences or not. Do we have any grammatical mistakes available or not here? Sentence formation is correct or not? Okay, do we have any spelling mistakes available or not? We're checking all these things. Like the similar way here also, whatever the code we have written in this Apex class, maybe this code may be having some syntactical mistakes. Maybe developer did not follow all the rules, all the standards, all the principles, all the guidelines of Apex programming language. Because we are the human beings. We are not the robots to write 100% exact code. We can do some mistakes. So now here in this case here, this code is not yet verified as of now. So there may be this code may be having some syntactical mistakes. So that here, the code which is having some syntactical mistakes, that code is called as uncompiled code. Okay, uncompiled. The code is not yet verified. The code is not, okay, check the syntaxes over here. Maybe it may be having some syntactical mistakks. So now here in this case, after writing the code by using this Apex programming language, as soon as once you click on this save button, this uncompiled code will be sending to the Force.com platform as a request. Okay, this code will be sending to Force.com platform as a request. That means the code is not compiling in my local system. The code is not executing in my local system because my local system is just a dummy system to connect to the internet. Nothing will be there in my local system over here. Okay, now, so in this case, as soon as once you click on this save button, this uncompiled code will be sending to the force.com platform as a request over here. Now, so as soon as whenever the request has been sent to the force.com platform, now the force.com platform contains two components internally over here. Force.com platform contains two components. First one, application server. Second one, metadata repository. Okay, there are two components are available inside the force.com platform. Application server, metadata repository. Two components are there. Application server means what? Basically, application server's main responsibility is whatever the code we have written, the code has to be get compiled, the code has to be get execution. That means the code compilation, execution should be done through application server. Application server's main responsibility is it has to compile the code, it has to execute the code. That means execution means running the code over here to generate the results, to perform the operations. Now, in this case, once a code has been getting written, we need to save the code somewhere, right? Yes. Generally, in other programming languages, whatever the code we have written, we are saving the code in our local system. But Salesforce is purely cloud application. Then where we can save this code? In order to save the code, Salesforce is using a location that is called as metadata repository. So metadata repository is a location where exactly all the compiled code means what? Error-free code, bug-free code, 100% quality code will be available inside metadata repository, which contains all your Apex classes, your triggers also, your batch classes also, schedule classes also, web services also, APIs also. All these things will be getting resides inside metadata repository. That means whatever the code I'm going to write, that code we are writing through the browser itself, the code will compile inside the internet, code will store into the metadata repository. That means in the internet, code will execute through internet. We can see the result also in the browser itself. Nothing will be there in the local system. Okay. So now here in this case here, let's see. So now once the code has been getting written, now the code will be sending to the force.com platform. In force.com platform, we have these two components, application server and the metadata repository components over here. Okay. Now, initially here, my code will be sending to force.com platform. Force.com platform will send the code to application server. Why? Because first of all, it has to compile the code, right? Yes, because whatever the code we have written, in that code, it might be having some syntactical mistakes. Maybe in some specific lines, I forgot to specify the semicolon. I know that here, Apex programming statement should be ends with a semicolon. I know that, but it's my mistake here. It's my mistake. I did a mistake inside my code. I forgot to write the semicolon in one of the line. I forgot to close the braces in one of the line. I forgot to close that single quote in one of the line. It's my mistake here. Now, as a developer, I did some mistakes because I'm not the robot to write the exact code. I'm a human being. I can do some mistakes also. So now in this case here, the code has to be compiled first. Now, metadata repository contains only the compiled code, only the 100% quality code. Okay, why? Because if I'm storing directly the whole code inside the metadata repository, if this code is having some issue in future, when you try to execute that code will be having some issues. Because of the issues, if the server is affected, then how many customers will get affected? All the 8,000 customers, their applications will be impacted automatically. Because we know that within a single server, Salesforce is allocating the memory space for how many customers? 8,000 customers. So 8,000 customers applications will get affected. That's what here, to avoid such kind of impact, they are going to be compiling the code first. So the code will not be storing into metadata repository directly. First of all, your uncompiled code will be sending to the force.com platform. Force.com platform will be sending the code to application server. Okay. Now, in application server, we have two components are available. In application server, we have two components. First one, Apex compiler. Second one, Apex runtime engine. We have two components are available: Apex compiler, Apex runtime engine. Then what is Apex compiler? What is Apex runtime engine here? Basically, Apex compiler is going to be taking care of compiling the code. It will compile the code. Compiling the code means what? Verifying the syntactical mistakes. Whatever the code that we have written, in that code, you might be having some syntactical mistakes. Whatever the code we have written, the code has been prepared based on the rules, principles, standards, guidelines, and limitations of Apex programming language or not. So now it will verify that. So all the rules and principles will be available as part of this Apex compiler. Now initially your code will be sending to that Apex compiler. Apex compiler will be collecting your file. It will check line by line syntax, first line put till last line here. Inside this file, whatever the lines of code we have written, it will take each and every line by line to check each and every line syntax. Okay. Now, so in this case, for example, upon checking this syntaxes over here by the Apex compiler, suppose in a specific line, some line number 7, I forgot to write the semicolon here. That means there is a mistake has been found. Immediately, Apex compiler will be sending the response back to the developer. Dear developer, inside your code, we found some syntactical mistakes. So in the line number 7, there is a semicolon is missing. So please go to that code, correct that code, write the code based on the rules of Apex programming, and resubmit the code for recompilation process. That means here, your code will not be moving ahead. Your code will not be executing over here. In the compilation stage itself, the code will be getting stopped, because the compilation has been failed. During the compilation, during the verification, there are some syntactical mistakes are available, so the code cannot be getting compiled over here. So immediately, it will send the response back to the developer with the compilation issues. So these are the various errors we have identified inside your code. Please correct that code and resubmit the code for recompilation process. Now, As a developer, we have to open that code, we have to modify the code again here, write the code according to the rules of Apex programming language, then we have to resubmit the code for recompilation process. Now the Apex compiler will check the line by line code from first line to till last line. Now this time, inside my code, we don't have any syntactical mistakes. If the code is not having any syntactical mistakes, then whatever the code it has been compiled successfully, the compiled code will be storing into metadata repository. Okay, whatever the code we have prepared, that code will be storing inside the metadata repository. Metadata repository is nothing but like as a database. It's like as a repository, it's like as a location where all your compiled code will get resides. It may be your Apex classes also, triggers also, Visual Force pages also, Lightning components also, batch class also, schedule class also, web services also, APIs also, whatever the business logics we have prepared by using Apex programming language and the Visual Force programming, the whole code will be getting resides inside metadata repository. So your code will be storing inside Force.com platform. That means inside the Salesforce server, not in our local system. Okay, understood the concept here? Now, so the whole code will be storing inside metadata repository. Once the code has been stored inside the metadata repository, now one copy of your Apex class will store into a object called as Apex class object. Apex class is a standard object in Salesforce which contains all the Apex classes information. Whatever the Apex classes that you have prepared, all the Apex classes information will store inside Apex class object over here. Okay, now once the code has been stored into the metadata repository, a copy of the code will store into Apex class object. Then immediately Apex compiler is going to be informing to that Apex runtime engine. It will inform to the Apex runtime engine, dear runtime engine, just now I have compiled one Apex class code. This is the name of that Apex class. The class code already I have placed inside the metadata repository. So please go to the metadata repository, collect that Apex class code, execute the code, and send the response back to the developer. So it will send one indication to the Apex runtime engine. Now the Apex runtime engine will be collecting the indication. Based on the indication, it will make a request to metadata repository. Dear metadata repository, I want the code of this particular class. This is the name of the class. Please forward me the code. So I want to execute it. I want to send the response back to that developer. So now Apex from the metadata repository will be collecting that request. Based on that class name, it will collect the code from the Apex class object. It will send that Apex class code to that Apex runtime engine. Now, based on the request, it will send the requested Apex class code to that metadata application Apex runtime engine. Now, the Apex runtime engine will collect the code. It will start executing your Apex programming code over here. It will execute your Apex programming code. Upon executing that code, in that code, I have written some DML statements also. I have written some SOQL queries also. I have written some SOSL queries also. In that case, we need to connect to the database, right? For that reason, now this application server is going to be connecting to database.com also. That already we know. Because all the Salesforce objects and the records will store inside a database that is called as a database.com. Salesforce is not using Oracle. Salesforce is not using SQL Server. They have their own database that is database.com. In this case, upon executing this piece of code, now the Apex runtime engine is going to be connecting to the database also. It will perform the operations inside that. Once operations has been done, it will be generating the result over here. Now, once the result has been generated, where the user can see the result? In the command prompt? No. In other programming languages like a C programming, C++, Java, C#, we can see the results in command prompt over here. But in Salesforce, no command prompt concept. That means nothing will be local system. Everything will be cloud. User can see the result inside the browser. If you want to show some content in the browser, that will be in the form of HTML format. If you want to show some content inside the browser, that should be in HTML format, so that whatever the result has been generated, the result will be representing in HTML format. Now, this HTML format of response will be sending back to the developer in the form of a file that is called as debug log file. So debug log file contains your program execution history along with your program results also. Whatever the result has been generated by your Apex program, the whole result will be storing inside the debug log file. Debug log file contains the actual program execution history along with that result also over here. So we can go to the debug log file, we can see the result over there. Okay, this is the whole program execution lifecycle of your Apex programming. That means as part of Apex programming, each Apex code will be getting stored inside the file with the extension .apexc. Apex code will be getting compiled by using Apex compiler. Compiled Apex code will be storing inside metadata repository. Once the code has been compiled, the compiled code will be executing with the help of a runtime engine called as Apex runtime engine. Once the code has been executed, we can see the result inside that debug log file. Okay, clear? Understood the concept now? Now, this is the Apex programming execution lifecycle architecture over here. Okay, understood the concept now? Now. So now here in this case here, whenever we are writing any Apex code, it may be single line also, 10 lines also, 100 lines also, 1000 lines also, same procedure will be followed internally over here. Depends upon the number of lines of code, it will take some more time to process it internally here. Okay, understood the concept now? Now. So this is your Apex programming execution lifecycle architecture over here. Each Apex code should get compiled by using Apex compiler, executed by using Apex runtime engine, and then we can see the result inside the debug log file, and the compiled code will store into metadata repository here. Okay, now. Then, so now during the program, writing the programming code, I will explain each and every fundamental process also, how it will store that whole information, the debug log file, I will show you with practical as well. Okay, now, So now this is the Apex programming execution lifecycle architecture here. Regarding this execution architecture, tomorrow I will be giving some notes points also, and then tomorrow we'll see the fundamental concepts of Apex programming. Each programming language is providing its own fundamental basics. Like for example, assume that I don't know English. I want to learn English language to communicate with the people. In that case, directly can we read the paragraphs? No. First of all, we need to learn those the basic characters. Then we need to form some small words. Then we need to use some grammar also. Through that grammar, we can able to form some sentences. We can combine some multiple sentences to prepare some paragraphs, some stories, whatever you want. Like the similar way, if you want to build some business logic, we are having some fundamental features are available. Those are called as fundamental building blocks. Now, as part of Apex programming, we have 7 fundamental building blocks are available. Like we have data types, we have variables, we have operators, we have output statements, and we are having conditional statements, we are having iterative statements, we have arrays. These are the 7 fundamental features are available. These fundamental features are the base. If you know these 7 fundamental features perfectly, then Apex programming will be very simple. And then the same features are available in all the programming languages available in IT industry, including C programming also, C++, Java, .NET, Python, JavaScript, wherever you go, these 7 features are fixed common. So if you know these 7 features perfectly, you can learn other programming languages by your own. You don't need to go to any training centers. Okay, so that here fundamental building blocks are very important. If you know these 7 fundamental building blocks, then writing the code will be very easy here. Okay, so from tomorrow onwards, we'll see the fundamental concepts of Apex programming language. Don't miss this a basic concept. These are very important here. Okay, thank you.
This conference will now be recorded.